Today I'm talking with Sean King O'Grady, creator and host of the Suspicious Minds podcast, based on the book Suspicious Minds: How Culture Shapes Madness by Doctors Joel and Ian Gold. Season 1, AI and Psychosis, aired last year, and now Season 2, AI and the Apocalypse, examines the greater global ramifications of the AI revolution, or AI bubble, depending on how things pan out. It's an incredible podcast, and you can get it wherever you get your podcasts. This was a fun talk. I mostly pick his brain about AI. I'll be the first to admit, I'm not an AI guy. I'm really hung up on generative AI. I think it's gross, and I have open disdain for anyone who uses it. But really, that's just the shiny object meant to distract us from the real boogeyman, which is the subject of the Suspicious Minds podcast. If you're a fan of that show, I hope you find this to be an enjoyable supplement. And if you do, let me know with a like, subscribe, leave a comment, maybe check out some of my other videos. There's already quite a few, and more are being added every week. Okay, that's enough one-sided chit-chat. Let's get to some two-sided chit-chat with Sean King O'Grady. Hello there, Sean.
Hey Zach, how are you?
I'm all right. Well, actually, I'm a little anxious because I spent the last few days listening to your show.
Good. Anxiety is the intended effect.
After a few episodes, I was like, I don't think Elvis is going to show up at all.
No. Well, you don't know. I don't want no spoilers.
Oh gosh! Eventually, we're gonna get a Gen AI Elvis, and I'm not gonna like it.
Not on our show.
Okay, okay. So I play a lot of video games. I played Fortnite, which was like, in beta for a million years. I play games that are in early access, but that's different from this consumer product that, like, there's still some bugs in it, needless to say. So how does one get away with? Is it because it's a new developing technology, like a designer drug that's not regulated, that they can put something out that's going to literally tell suicidal people to themselves?
I mean, it's just never happened before. So I think that when a technology like this comes out and it's so different from what we've seen before, and initially, I don't want to get too deep into the history of this, but like when ChatGPT was dropped, it wasn't supposed to have the effect that it did. Like no one knew culturally it was going to pick up the way that it did. I think they released it like almost quietly. Like Sam Altman tweeted out the link that ChatGPT was first live, and then people just like picked up and ran with it because it was so different. It was like I remember my first time using ChatGPT. It was like what I thought Ask Jeeves was going to be in like 2003, and it really felt like for the first time you were talking to something, right? And I think that's the important part is it didn't feel like a computer. It felt like there was something conscious on the other end. It's even like Mustafa Suleyman, the CEO of Microsoft AI. I like the way he puts it. He says seemingly conscious, and he's not taking that user experience away, but he's also not saying in the same way that some of the other AI companies, like people from Anthropic, will say this all the time. Like they think that their product is conscious. And so when you compare that to a video game that's in beta, like if I'm playing Fortnite in beta, I might expect that there are bugs. I might expect that occasionally when I know I get a direct headshot on someone, it doesn't take down their health the way that I would want it to. But this like, and I want to not just talk about chatbots, but when you talk about chatbots, no one, I think the mass public didn't really understand how beta all of this technology was, but also how good it was. And that's what's so shocking about it is that it's so new, it's so different, and it's still being developed. And there's just so many questions around it that when you drop something like that, something that novel on an unsuspecting population, you simply don't know what effect that's going to have. And I don't think it is necessarily like a drug in the sense of regulation. I don't think there was any way to regulate it because no one knew what it was. And it takes years to regulate anything or to even propose how it should be regulated. And once this cat was out of the bag, there was just no putting it back in.
How did this technology that's so new, that was so untested, that even still now there's so many questions that you can have 2 seasons and many more to come of a show about it? Did it become such a cornerstone of the American economy? Is it just because of the marketing skills of Sam Altman and Elon Musk, etc.?
It is the American economy. there are a lot of people can point these statistics much better than I can. I don't necessarily focus on and our show doesn't. I mean, there's a lot of people who do a really, really good job of looking at what this technology is doing to the economy, looking at how much the economy is weighted towards AI, data centers, related investments. And we mostly focus on how the technology is really shaping the mind. And so to the extent though that your investments shape the way that you live, that shapes elements of how you think, right? And how we think about what we're going to put. And that's also, I think, something where there is a very direct link between how we invest and how we think is it's really easy to say something. I can say anything. It doesn't cost me anything to say anything right now, except for reputational damage, whatever. But even in private conversations, I can say something, there's no cost. When you're actually investing in something, you are saying, okay, this is how I act. It's not a thought, it's not speech, it's action. And I think that so much of the economy being weighted towards AI right now is that we haven't seen something in contemporary society that has had this much potential for change. And what else are you going to do but invest in it? You don't want to be left behind. If that's the alternative, if the alternative is we get left behind. So whether you're a community that decides you want to support a data center being built, or you're a government entity, whether it's a county, a city, a state, whatever, who wants to get a data center built in your area, even if the community around doesn't want it, like people are doing these things. I think a lot of it's FOMO, and that's really important. But I also think like on an individual level, you don't want to be left behind because it's exciting. It's what everybody's talking about. It's something that, I mean, it feels like an alien was suddenly birthed on Earth and started talking to us. And it's like, think if you're up to this point, our computers responded to what we did. We gave it inputs, they gave us outputs, but those outputs didn't seem to be independent in any way. And now all of a sudden they are. I mean, it's like if your dog started talking to you tomorrow, wouldn't you want to go invest in dogs? Like it's just something that's new. It's something that has the incredible potential for change. And I think that's why people have. And it's also when you think it's not that long ago that the internet came online in the way that it is now. And I think people hope that we've learned the lessons from the dot-com bubble, but also have seen now that the internet wasn't hype. Like the internet is how we live now. The internet really is. Like if you were to look at how many of the hours of your day are spent in mediated experiences that are mediated in one way or another through the internet versus kind
Oh,
of meet space in real life experiences, human life is the internet. So, what is to make us think that AI isn't going to be the next extension of that? That AI in some way isn't going to just become a part of human life in a way that can't be separated from the thing that we've known for the previous however many 100,000 years.
now in season 2 of the show, it's about the end of the world and how AI, uh, if it's going to happen, AI is playing a part in it, and how the end of the world, in many ways, has already happened. It's just not Mad Max yet. Although, with all the water being siphoned up by the data centers, we'll see how that plays out. Well, kind of to that, you know, is talking to a chat GPT for 15 minutes a day, is that doing a disservice to the environment? Can you say like, oh, I'm just doing this? Like, I remember back in the 90s, people would say, I go to McDonald's, but I only have the fries.
Yeah, I it's a big question for me is the environmental impact and how we all engage with it. I mean, there's an interesting argument that I've heard directly made, which is that we're so far down the path of environmental destruction that potentially the only way to fix the environment is by humans aren't going to do it. We've proven that all we can do is destroy it. So that we need a super intelligent AI to come and figure out how to fix the damage we've already done. So I've actually heard people make this argument that like, yes, we agree. The data centers are doing great environmental damage, but we're only going to undo that environmental damage and all the environmental damage that's been done since the Industrial Revolution by using the data center to potentially create the super intelligence that's potentially going to figure out a solution. I don't know if that logic holds up. I just know that that's what people are saying. And then as far as like how we on an individual level, I don't know. I mean, the way we live in general, like it's one of the great moral challenges of being human in 2026 is knowing that using this computer right now, this isn't good for the environment. Using my air conditioning when it gets hot, that's not good for the environment. The way that we live, whether it's like single-use plastics or factory farming or all the other things that make modern life, these things are all terrible for the environment. Is using Chat GPT every once in a while, or even like you'll hear people who get really extreme about it. We're like, oh, you shouldn't say thank you to your chat bot because each thank you is the equivalent of like a half a bottle of water. Like, I don't know. I don't have these answers. I don't know if anyone does. And I think that's part of what we're trying to figure out, or at least trying to explore through I know that's what I'm trying to explore through my show is how do we as a species adjust to this new thing that we suddenly find ourselves living with? How do we adapt? How do we ask those moral questions? How do we ask the psychological questions? How do we figure out does this change what is meaningful to us and to how we live and what's going to happen and how are we going to react to that? To me, those are the big important questions that at least I can be asking because I know other people are asking those other questions and that's their field of expertise and they'll find answers a lot faster and better than I will.
I mean, I'm not a saint. I've got my notes are on my iPhone. Um, and I'm sure it's inevitable I will use it, but I actually haven't spoken to a chatbot ever.
Really
It freaks me out. I don't like it. I've never
interesting.
I've never made an AI video or picture. Um, I'll, I'm sure I could make much better thumbnails for my YouTube videos if I did, but I can't do it. I don't like the idea of it. I don't like, I feel like whatever I can make with Pickler, or my extremely rudimentary Photoshop skills is something that I made versus delegating it to a computer. But I was thinking maybe it's like an age thing. Maybe the different generations have different reactions to it. Like I'm 35, so I feel like I'm like maybe the last generation that got to grow up without immediate internet access. Like I didn't have internet until I didn't look at it until I was in school, which is a very regulated place. You can't look whatever you want in school or at the library. And didn't have a computer at home until I was in high school. You maybe like people who are younger than me, the Gen Z, they're totally fine with. They understand. They have a syncopathy. What's the word I'm thinking of? Like they can sync up with AI and chatbots. They can look at a video and go, oh, that's AI generated, and understand everything that comes with that. Versus my generation, we will watch it for a little bit, then we'll see, oh, this is AI generated, and we'll get real mad about it. Versus old people who don't even know the difference and they don't care. They'll believe whatever they see on TV anyway.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely. I have an anecdote I'm going to share. This is going to cost me $5. Every time I share this anecdote, I owe my son $5. So he's 11 years old, and I made this video. I think it was like the Sora 2. I think it was that model of video generation. I made this video of there were a handful of people who opted in, so you could use their likeness with their consent, and Mark Cuban was one of those people. And so I made this video of Mark Cuban talking about the first season of Suspicious Minds while that season was rolling out, and I showed it to my son. I was like, "Hey, check this out." He slapped my phone out of my hand and said, "Get the AI slop out of my face." Immediately. He just like, there wasn't even a moment of hesitation. He saw this thing for 3 seconds and could tell that it was AI. Whereas I was sitting here making it thinking, this is really cool. Like, this looks like Mark Cuban is talking about our show. And in retrospect, it didn't. It didn't look like it, didn't sound like it was very obviously AI generated. But I thought it was so funny, and my son was just not amused. And so, yeah, I think there will be. I think the with any technology. I like to use this example of my my dad and my grandpa bought a phone for my great grandma, and this would have been in like the 70s. And she didn't have a phone. She lived on a farm and had no phone. She lived her whole life without a phone. And they said to her, "You need this. Like you're older, something could happen." And she said, "Well, fine. I'm not calling out on that thing, but I guess if it rings, I'll answer it." And so that was like her adoption of that technology, which seems so quaint and crazy to think about now, that the telephone, right? That's speaking to. But there, okay, so let me go on a tangent here. There were people who, from both the radio and the telephone, developed what we would now refer to as like a technological psychosis. People thought that collectively society was going to lose their minds over the radio because you were hearing disembodied voices. You were hearing these, and think about that. Think about, if you don't know the radio, how bizarre a technology that is. Voices, things that used to come from just a biological creature in a meat suit sitting across from you, sharing space. Like, their voice was physically affecting the airwaves around you. Those that was that physically like hitting your ears. The vibrations of their speech were then being interpreted by your ear and your brain, and that was the experience of hearing. It was always something that was in like your visual field. Now all of a sudden you've got this disembodied voice from who knows where. It's coming from across the city or across the country. You don't know who it is. That hearing these disembodied voices was going to make people lose their minds. I don't think it did. You could argue that maybe it did. That's why we are where we are now.
I
But
mean, in season one, you talk about the railroad psychosis, and I'm a New Yorker. I ride the subway all the time. I Maybe it would explain a lot about my city. I don't know.
yeah, you don't know. I can't remember if this made it into the first season or not. But it was similar with like billboards on the expressways. That seeing, and this sounds hilarious now, but psychologists were actually concerned when billboards started popping up on expressways that going 60 miles per hour and seeing all of these ads come at you, that information was actually going to cause brain damage. And so, yeah, I don't know. Like, you could argue that that's so silly. And the same way that our upcoming episode that comes out this Thursday talks about brain rot and how, like, you actually are the information that you consume and the way that you consume it and the way that you engage with it can actually change the way your brain functions. Like, brain rot is not just a cute metaphor. It's not just a funny meme. Like, it's an actual thing. Like, there are dangers to the way that you engage with certain things. And that, are we going to look back on our fear of short form video being brain rot, our fear of certain types of video games being brain rot, the same way that like our parents did with us watching Saturday morning cartoons, or a generation before them worried about billboards? Or is this stuff all really like making us worse at thinking? Is the human experience being degraded because of this? I don't know that there are answers, but I think it's really important to start to put serious thought and serious time and serious resources behind answering these questions before we just dive headlong into these new technologies. Like that's actually my biggest concern at this point is I think the smartphone and social media are incredible technologies that could have been wonderful for society. Like I think both of these technologies have the ability to connect people and to make life better in some ways. And I think we've failed so miserably at teaching the general population how to use them. And that's my concern with AI is that this AI psychosis thing that we spent so much time last season studying, that this is the tip of the iceberg. That now that, as you've mentioned, like all the investment that's going behind data centers, all the investment that's going into these frontier AI models, all of the like we are really not hedging our bets at all. We're just putting everything in the AI bucket, including our own minds. And that's a pretty dangerous place to be when, and not to be fear mongery about it. Like, look, could this technology and um the way that we use it as a society, could this be great for humanity? Could the human experience get better because of AI? Like, very possible. There's a really interesting thinker we talked to named Samir Gupta who works in the AI gaming space, and he pointed out something to me that I just like can't get out of my head, which is that when Siddhartha was sitting under the Bodhi tree, like becoming the Buddha, one of his biggest concerns was that there was too much information and too much of a focus on material things. And this was like destroying the human living experience. This was 2,000 years ago. Think what life was like. Think how little information there was compared to what there is now, and how little focus on material goods there was then compared to what there is now when it's like shoved into our faces all day, every day. And if humanity had that problem 2,000 years ago, what makes us think we're going to solve it today without some outside help? So he's actually very optimistic that AI is going to help us solve these problems that humanity hasn't been able to solve on our own. And I think that's a perspective worth considering as well.
Yeah, it's definitely a much more even-handed look at it than maybe I would give if I were hosting the show. You know, like you say, hey, there are possibilities on every, in every direction. Let's not 100% exclusively focus on the dark side. There are potential game-changing advantages as well.
Yeah, that's just because I don't want to have a fixed opinion on something that I quite frankly don't think anyone has answers to. And that's why I think this space is so exciting to explore because and so scary. It's like at one point, and it's funny too, the reactions I've got from people when I say that I think our future with AI is in some ways terrifying to me. There are people that immediately tune out. They're like, no, this is fear mongering. This is like, there was a YouTube comment, and I know you're not supposed to read the comments, but I did. And there was one that was like, oh, they said environmental and they said existential. I'm out. And I was like, well, wait a second. Like, is that where we are as a society? Is like, you can't listen to, if you were to listen to the show, like you said, it is fairly even handed. And that's not because I have an agenda that I'm pushing. It's actually because I have plenty of agendas. On this topic, I do not have an agenda yet. I haven't formulated one. I'm trying to, and that's kind of what the show is me
Got
trying
to
to
learn
figure out.
first.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm learning with everybody else. Like we're all learning. And so yeah, it's why I think the space is exciting to explore. It's why I think it's scary. I think the risk of screwing this up or the potential downsides of screwing this up are big. Like I'll use the word existential. They really are. Like we got so lucky that the world did not end, that the human experience didn't end due to nuclear war in the years between like 1955 and 1992. Like sheer luck that we survived that period. Like the fact that the Cold War with tens of thousands of nuclear warheads pointed between the US and Russia primarily, like that didn't end in catastrophe is an absolute miracle. I don't know what other word to apply to the situation. And if we're now creating this other technology that can be very powerful, can also be very dangerous, we really, really owe it to ourselves to figure this out and to not move in a direction that we don't understand out of either FOMO, as I'd mentioned earlier, or greed or just lack of understanding. I think we have to figure this out because the stakes are so incredibly high. And like anything else, like where there's high risk, there's high reward. So if we can figure this out and we can make this beneficial for society and beneficial for human life, and that we come out a better species with a better living experience on the other side, then could it be worth a little risk? Sure. But if that risk isn't taken seriously, then we can't expect to get lucky again.
I think a big part, for better or for worse, is that all of a sudden everything is AI. You know, back in my day, we used to say machine learning, and now no one says machine learning anymore. It's all AI. Um, Even when something's supposed to be, I don't know if you how tuned into the gaming space you are, but if you remember the whole DLSS 5 gross thing that they said it was, it's taking the existing pixels and kind of, finessing them, and it yassified all of the characters. And I was like, I think this is the line between machine learning and AI.
Yeah,
At least in that realm, you know.
I also think some of that is like opportunistic abuse of a technology that people don't understand. They're trying to brand it. They're branding things that maybe aren't AI as AI. I also think there are uses of it where people are, and I don't know if this is a form of AI psychosis, but people are looking to save money and save time and cut corners and use AI to do it. And it's actually, Zach, you should maybe try this. If ever you feel like you want to use any sort of AI, use it to do something that you know how to do really, really well, and compare the quality of work that, and like, we don't have time to get into the details of where I think AI can be really useful, because I do think there are areas where it can be incredibly useful. I've found some use cases for it that are like incredible, and it's really good in those specific lanes. But if I try to have it write something for me, for instance, like if I'm just like, hey, I have this idea for a short story, can you write it for me? 100% of the time, not 90%, 100% of the time, it's garbage. If you were to try to have it similarly, like I've seen some people do some incredible things. I've been following the AI video space very closely, kind of since this whole thing first started, since I guess it was like Dolly a couple 4 or 5 years ago. Um, there are people that have figured out how to use AI generated video and make some really compelling things, but it's not as simple as like text prompt to video. They're getting very clever. They're figuring it out. It's almost like a new form of animation that they're developing, where they get these short clips, and they really have to like finesse them a lot. So I think we are going to see some massive, massive and very hilarious and very frustrating fails when companies try to use AI to shortcut around doing the work and creating good products or good art or whatever it might be.
Well, I'm excited to see how the rest of the season shakes out. Whatever you do next on the show, I'll be watching that as well. Thanks for letting me pick your brain for a little bit about my own anxieties and worries about AI and the AI future that everyone seems to tell me is inevitable, and in some fields it surely is. But and with the whole everything being AI, you don't talk that much about Gen AI on the show. Like that's not really like the focus. That's more like the fun, silly stuff that people that they use for the marketing. While in the background, they've got algorithms determining how nuclear war is going to play out.
Yeah, that's a lot more of what I'm concerned about, which is odd. Like my kind of day job is making films, and I know a lot of people are really concerned about Gen AI in the film space. It doesn't concern me all that much, to be honest. Like I
It's
think
the
people,
facade of what AI
it's the
can do.
facade. It's like it's the parlor tricks, right? Like I'm more worried about why they're showing me these parlor tricks. Because if they're showing you parlor tricks, that means something really scary is happening in the room right behind them, right behind you, that they're trying to distract you from. So that I think that's the danger, is that we get shiny object syndrome. We focus on those shiny objects, and whatever those shiny objects are deliberately designed to distract us from is the thing we should really be paying attention to.
That's how they get you.